Good morning, all. We're going to give lots of people enough time to come in to the lesson. Those of you who are in, if you can make sure you've got pen, paper in front of you, because we're going to be using that today. Any questions you have on EPQ, we're going to be talking about those and going through those questions that you may have throughout the session and at the end of the session. And if you can also make sure your microphones and cameras are turned off for the moment, that would be really helpful. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Just letting you know, as always, these lessons will be recorded, so you can always go back later on and watch anything from this lesson that you may have missed off. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Morning all, we will start in just a couple of minutes. Just waiting for the last few people to attend. This session is usually either really full or really empty, depending on what people have done in terms of their choices and what they want to go and see. If you can make sure you've got something to write with and write on, make sure your cameras are off and your microphone for the moment is also off. I'll be welcoming lots and lots of questions, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of information overload for you today. So this is being recorded, so you can go back over this and discuss anything, or even email me if you have any questions that you weren't sure about. And you can wait until next week to email me as well if you want. So we'll get started in just one more minute officially. And then we'll just get going. Okay then, right, let's get going. Hopefully this was a fairly easy kind of channel to get into, and the whole system's worked quite well for anyone who doesn't normally come to Shenley Brookend. Welcome. For those of you who don't know, my name is Mrs. Brooker. As well as going through and teaching EPQ at Year 12, I'm also your head of year come September. I'm the current head of Year 12, so I will be the person that you see a lot in September and running most of the show throughout the year. Also, I am an English and media teacher, media for GCSE and A-level. So if any of you have thought about doing the CTEC media that we have, I will be one of your main teachers. I'm not doing the lesson today because I have to do EPQ, so you'll have Miss Cross for that one. Right, let's start off with the EPQ lesson. As we go through, ladies and gents, if you have any questions whatsoever, one, you can put your hand up and then I'll call on you and you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Or if you don't want to do that, which I'm aware that some people may not want to, feel free to put it into the chat because I have got that function box open. So I will try and answer your questions as and when. You don't have to wait until the end of the session to ask any questions. You can put them in as and when you think of them. Okay, then let's start the EPQ lesson. So EPQ stands for Extended Project Qualification. Now, in terms of what it is completely an independent project. It is a solo project. There are some parts on the forms. There are other EPQ teachers and exam boards that will go with group work, but here at Shenley we do EPQ with Edexcel Pearson, and it is a solo project. You have the choice of absolutely any type of topic and question and style of the work you want to do. It is so independent, you choose your own topic. Okay, you get to research your own topic. You have to plan it. Now that takes a lot of time management and organisation, and that's really important in EPQ. You then put it together, you write up your work and your research, your question, you answer it. If you've done something where you're creating something, you create it, evaluate it, and then eventually everyone will be sitting in a small presentation delivering a kind of a summary of their project. Now, the presentation is one of those things that I know a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to not like that. The presentation is simply you telling me what you've done, how well you think you've reached your aims and targets and goals, what worked well, what would you do if you were to do it again, what kind of challenges you had, and probably what most of you are wondering is that you don't have to do it in front of the whole class. It is something that you'll probably end up doing with a small group of your chosen friends or small group within the class that you can do. You'll get teacher guidance. So I'm the teacher for anyone in this block, so block A. I know that Mr. Dale and Mrs. Hurrell are also being put down to teach EPQ, and I'm not sure which blocks they'll be in, but they're in those blocks as well. So it could be me, and it could be another teacher, but whichever one of us you have, you'll get teacher guidance, you'll get discussions with us, especially at the beginning. It's quite heavy, and that's when we are talking about your ideas, your planning. We're trying to refine what it is that you actually want to do. And then obviously we back off a little bit, and then you take the steering wheel as it is and you get going with your project. There are deadlines. Now, these deadlines are extremely strict because there are marks for your time management and organisation. So if you miss deadlines, you cannot get the top marks. That is just how it is, and unfortunately some of the current Year 12s are experiencing that, even though I warned them on their taster day last year and also throughout the course. If you don't meet the deadlines, you can't get those top marks because you have to get top marks for planning, time management and your organisation, which is why it's so important to plan everything. Right, why do it? Now, I was unfortunate not to have the opportunity to do EPQ when I was doing my A-levels many years ago, but I think it's really important because it really is something extra that you can do on top of your 3 A-levels. It is a complete passion project. When it comes to talking about what subjects you want to do and what topic you want to do for EPQ, you have to choose something you're passionate about. There's no point going, well, I kind of like horses, and then get really bored with it, because that is what will happen. You have to think about something you are very passionate about. It can be subject related, but it doesn't have to be. It can be something like a subject you no longer study, so it's something that you thought, you know what, I really love doing artwork, but it's not really what I need for when I go off to uni or apprenticeships or work-based learning, therefore, you know, I still want to do it. EPQ is a perfect opportunity for you to kind of carry on something that you haven't studied before. It doesn't have to have anything to do with your current 3 subjects either. It can literally be about anything, and we'll go through what kind of topics you can cover later on in the PowerPoint. So, excuse me, you will also develop your independent skills. Really important things to be able to develop. Really important for you to understand that this is very much an independent project. We will teach you at the beginning and we will guide you all the way throughout. You'll get detailed feedback on your first draft of your EPQ. And then after that, again, you are back to being independent. So if you are someone that's like, yep, I can work on my own, I can motivate myself, I can do all of that, EPQ is going to be good for you. If you struggle with that, you can still do EPQ and you can still do really well. It is just skill and a mindset that we are going to be developing with you guys in year 12 over the whole of year 12, but also specifically for EPQ. You're going to develop your research skills, really important. Okay, everyone, no matter what style of project that you do, which I'll go through later on, everyone has to do a research, and research is probably the biggest hurdle at the beginning for you to do. Learning how to research effectively, rather than just having pages and pages and pages printed off from the internet, and being able to use that research in your own work. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again because it's so important. If you're not organised, if you don't bring your folder in, if you don't have things set out, if you don't meet your deadlines, your mini deadlines that you do for yourself, those kind of things, then you are going to struggle with this subject and this kind of the amount of workload. One of the things that some of people always ask me is that, do unis accept this? Yes, they do. Even the Russell Group unis, which are known as like the top universities, they do like this qualification. Some prefer it in their subject that you might go ahead and learn, and others don't mind what it is, because what it shows is your independent research organisation skills, and they want to see that. They want to see how well you can do something like that, because the EPQ overall is like a mini dissertation. So if anyone knows, any of you know anyone, your brothers, sisters, parents that have been to university, everyone, no matter what course you do, has to do some form of dissertation, which is in the final year of uni. They do a massive project, which is completely chosen by them, researched, organised, put together, written, all that kind of stuff, all by them. And this is like a mini version of that. So universities do like this and they do accept it. It is worth half an A level in UCAS points. Okay, so if you get an A or an A star in EPQ, your UCAS points just gained from this is really high. It's half of an A level, which is really important. Some universities go via UCAS points, some go by grades, some do a combination. Sometimes the grades they ask you to get can be lowered a little bit as long as you can get a high EPQ grade. we've had students who would have needed to get 3 A stars in whatever it is they want to do, but because they're doing EPQ, they're just being asked for 3 A's or 2 A stars as an A or something like that, as long as they get an A in EPQ. Okay, so it is big. I think it's so much fun. I really do. It is a lot of personal preference and your choice. Lots of it is to do with what you're interested in. So I think it's really, really important that you kind of think about why you want to do it. Now, it is something you can start in year 12, and then if you feel after a few sessions or even a couple of months that you think this is not for me, that's fine. You can drop it. And the reason why is because you're currently doing 3 A levels, and those 3 A levels are the ones that that you have to do in order to stay at sixth form. This is an additional qualification to those 3 A levels. It also gives you a bit more to talk about in interviews. It really, really does. Someone might say, oh, you know, tell me about a time where you've had to solve a problem. And actually, EPQ is all about solving problems and, you know, overcoming any issues or things that get in the way, and showing a bit of resilience. And this is something we can talk about quite a lot in our interviews that you have. Right, what kind of skills are you going to develop? Now, I think this is really important. So I'm just going to put them all up on there. I'm not going to read everything to you, but I think these are really important. So the kind of skills you're going to develop: creativity. I don't want you to think, oh my God, this is going to be a bit boring. It's not. It should be creative. It should be fun. And if you choose the right kind of topic, it really should be something that is quite passionate. Independence, I've said that already. Okay, you're going to have some guidance from us in weekly guidance, so you have lessons that you have to attend, and sometimes that lessons will be, hi, you're in, okay, sit on a computer, get on with your work, and you'll have like one-to-ones throughout the couple of weeks with your teacher. Obviously they'll be making their way through a whole group, so depending on the size of your group, you might speak to your teacher more often. You will be expected to do a lot more than in your one lesson. I have to say, you are expected to do a lot more outside of the lessons, and it doesn't matter what style of topic you're doing or style of dissertation you're doing, but you are expected to do more. You cannot get this done just in one double lesson. It is independent work. Decision making is going to be really important. We will help you at the beginning, choosing your project, choosing the question, making sure things are on the right tracks. But you get to make that final decision. We can only guide you. Initiative and enterprise, you can have loads and loads of different things that you can go out and research. You know, you can go do interviews. Hopefully coming in September, you're going to have the opportunity to be able to physically go out and speak to people, do interviews, look at websites, as we always kind of go for our first ones, look at podcasts. Sometimes you might go for questionnaires, articles, looking at TV shows and films that are related to your question as well. So there's loads of different things you can look at. Planning is essential. You know, I should have put that all in capitals, because if you don't plan, you are going to stumble quite a few times before you even get to the first deadline. Okay, you have to plan your time management, you need to be organized, and you need to be able to figure out, right, I need to hand this piece of work in on this time. What do I need to do and how do I need to work to meet that particular deadline? Plus you're juggling it with your other 3 subjects, which I guess I have to say honestly, which is why some students don't take EPQ all the way to the end, because they find that they are struggling to balance the subjects. So this year, I say, we started off with 75 students. And by the time we finished all the presentations in April and they had finished their course, I was down to 52 students. So quite a few students drop it. And that can be for personal, medical, mental health reasons. And for some people, it's like, I just can't handle the workload. Their other subjects are very demanding. All your other subjects are demanding. So this is why planning is so important. You'll get the opportunity to do some critical analysis. You know, you can look at a source and say how reliable something is or how important it is to your argument or your idea. You have a chance to evaluate the work, including your own ideas and perceptions. And I think this is a really big skill that universities love, and a skill that is definitely transferable to your other subjects as well. There is quite a cross-curricular set of skills because it prepares you for the future. And also, you know, things like referencing and citing, you do that in your essay-based subjects. The kind of evaluation and predictions, you do that in some of your more kind of logical, practical subjects like sciences. So it's really important these skills are being built. Some things that don't generally get touched upon a lot until year 13, we do in year 12. And obviously you have your presentation skills. Verbal skills are going to be developed. You're going to be able to actually present to someone. Again, if it's something you're interested in, it is going to sound much better and more interesting for you. Okay, so this is a mammoth slide, but I want to show you there's something that is to be said for the choice that you get in EPQ. Again, it has to be something you're interested about, but what you can see coming up on the screen are topics, areas, and sometimes even questions that students have done. So we've had things like criminal justice, we've had corporal punishment, we've had students talk about the, you know, the dangers of reality TV. We've had some talk about like beauty, conspiracy theories. We've had students who has done some artwork related to mental health. We've had a student this year who's done a topic on racism and is it inherited or is it taught behaviour? Lots of stuff on inequality within the sports. We've had protest music, so people talking about the music that shows that whatever was happening at the time is they were protesting it. We've had conservation of animals as well as the economy and the environment. We've had things like child development, which is really interesting. You know, we've had lots of people talk about how children develop after trauma. Others have talked about language acquisition. We've had some talked about deaf society and sign language and development of brains there. Some have done things about the foods of the world, talking about vegan chocolate cakes and stuff like that. You know, it doesn't have to be big and serious like the justice system or, you know, politics. It could simply be something you're passionate about. Even if you're passionate about cooking and food, your topic could be related to that. Other ones we've come up with, people have talked about the Big Bang Theory, rap and politics, which I think is really interesting, the media and its power, looking at feminism as well. Some students have looked at Disney movies and looked at how the male and the female protagonists are portrayed. Others have looked at music within movies. Some people have done scripts, all sorts of things in there. If you just bear with me, I've just seen that someone wants to enter. So I'm just going to see if I can admit them. Oh, I can. That was just Mr. Greenhouse.
Miss, you've been muted for the past 2 slides.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Sorry, I did not realise that I had done that. So just bear with me. So I'm going to go back to this slide. Did you all hear me talk about this one? Can someone talk to me?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good. Thank you. Apologies for that. So that's just your skills. This one particularly is to do with your topic. So obviously you can probably see that's pretty self-explanatory. Tons and tons of topics. This is just a tiny amount. There are so many more in there. This particular one, I'll go through it again very, very quickly. So just bear with me because I am sharing the screen. I can see I am, so that's good. From the current. There we go. Right, so this one, you've got the dissertation and the artifact are our main two types of projects. Dissertation is the most popular, and the artifact people like because it's more physical. However, I would say for sure, don't think that the artifact is the easy option. There isn't an easy option, but don't think that the artifact is an easy option. Okay, if you don't like writing, that's all well and good, but the artifact will take a lot more of your time outside of lessons. Dissertation will also take a lot of time outside of your lessons, but it's more something that we're all kind of used to and we do quite a lot. I'd also say for this particular one, there is the investigation and the performance element in there. However, it is also something that is very difficult and very rare to do. A lot of people turn their performance or their investigation, if it's scientific, into some form of artifact, and everyone kind of like migrates back to the artifact if they do that. But again, they all have a presentation, and even for the artifact and the investigation, you still have to do a short written report, an introduction, an abstract. You'll have to write a conclusion and evaluation, and you'll probably have to write a little bit about a literature review, which I'll talk about in a moment, as to what you need to be doing or how you need to, and you evaluating the research that you have done. Okay, so I'm just keeping an eye on the chat to see if there's anyone who has anything to kind of say in the chat. Oh, look, loads of you said you're muted. Apologies, guys. I was looking in the chat and it didn't even pop up. But thank you for letting me know. Right, so this is what your year is going to look like. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have to create a project proposal, which is basically a plan of what your project is going to be. A topic comes up, all that kind of stuff. You are going to be planning. You're going to be doing a Gantt chart, which is basically, it's a very fancy version of a to-do list. And it has a really kind of effective way of trying to organize which task you want to do, when you want to do it, but also how long you think things are going to take. Every week you'll be expected to fill in an activity log. So it's like an ongoing log about what you've done that week, what you've got to do, any problems you came across. The activity log shows me how organized you are, but also shows me how you are getting over any issues, particularly to do with your kind of research and problems that you have. Got loads of research, as I've mentioned already. Your literature review, so that's basically all the research you do. You have to log every single website, every single book, every single podcast that you've been on, and it seems like a really laborious task, but it's something that you need to do from the beginning, so you don't have to go back and go, oh, where did I get that quote from? And simply a literature review is evaluating the sources. You know, I went onto this website, it was really effective, it was really reliable because it had expert opinions on it. You know, I read this from a textbook, it was okay, but it seemed quite biased, that kind of stuff. You have your main project and your essay and your artifact, and that draft is usually just before Christmas. That is when you would hand in your first draft. So in the autumn term, you'll be doing a whole lot of planning, a whole lot of research, and putting the majority of your essay or your artifact together. Then we'll look at it over the Christmas and the first week back, and then you'll get detailed feedback from that. That'll be your first and only detailed feedback on your project, and it will say go away, do this, this and this, and then you go away, you do that, and then you hand it back as your final finished piece. Including in that will be your evaluation and your conclusion, and obviously at the end of the whole lot, once you've handed in your final pieces, you will need to, or you will be able to put in and deliver your presentation. Okay, so I'm just having a quick look on chat to see if there's anything more in terms of questions. If not, don't worry. Just going to, no, that's fine. Sorry guys, I've got the chat sitting up on my iPad, and obviously the screen in front of me because I can't seem to see both at the same time. Okay, so let's get on with the next slide. So this is the beginning of your summer task. Okay, so I've given you loads of information, and this is why I wanted to make sure that I got this done at least, and I have done it, managed to give at least 10 minutes at the end for any questions that you do have. But this is what you need to do. Now, this document, this kind of slide is on the files section of this channel. So it's on there, it's like a Word document I've just copied this PowerPoint slide onto. If you know exactly what you want to do, which topic you want to do, perfect. If you're not sure, choose 4 topics you're interested in, 4 things that you're interested in. So mine would have been like horror movies, sign language, food, and I think the 4th one would have been something like advertising. And then you would go for each of those topics, you'd write out 2 subtopics that you could cover, questions you can ask. So for example, my advertising would be women in advertising could be an idea or a question or a topic I might cover, or looking at how advertising children's toys, because I think that's a really kind of a big issue that I have things to talk about and think about. And then for each of these questions, so in the end you'll have 2, 4, 6, 8 subtopics or questions. Now for each of those, write down 5 things that you would probably want to discuss. So this mind map should be expanding. So if I gave you an example, one of my topics could be advertising. One of my subtopics would be children's advertising or advertising for children. And then my 5 points could be things like the use of specific colours in advertising for girls and boys, toys that are advertised specifically for specific genders. It might be looking at the promotion of like makeup in girls' toys. You know, I think of 5 different areas, if I can, that I would want to discuss. Once you've done 1, 2, and 3, and it is good to get all 3 of those, number 1, 2, and 3 done for all 4 topics, before you decide finally what it is that you want to do, because you might go, oh no, I desperately want to do, I don't know, let me think of something very quick. I definitely want to do crime. And then you decide that these are the kind of questions that you're interested in, or areas within crime you're interested in. And you might sit there going, actually, there's not a lot here, I don't want to do much. But if you've done it for other topics, it's really good. You're only going to do your EPQ for one of these topics. So when it comes to number 4, narrow your topics down into 2. So I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to take away sign language and food, and I'm going to keep advertising and whatever my 3rd, 4th one, whichever one it was, I can't remember now. Oh, horror movies. Okay, so I look at my 2 topics that I've done. I've done sub questions. I've come up with a few points on it. For each one, write a little summary of the topic and what kind of stuff you want to find out. 250 words to 500 words maximum, because that summary will help form your abstract and your introduction in year 12. Okay, now if you do that, so you might be sitting here going, I know exactly what I want to do. I'm not going to bother narrowing it down to 4 topics. I know exactly the one I want to do. And I've had students do that, and that's completely fine. Then I think it will be really good to start your research, start pulling together things. If you do research anything over the summer, please write down where you got that information from. Even if you just copy and paste the URL into a Word document and it just says EPQ research on it and you know what website you got what information from. That's really important because you're going to be sorting that in year 12 in the autumn term. So you don't need to worry about taking a picture of this because I do have the task on the files for you to copy and save into your own documents. So what I'm going to do now, because it is the end of the lesson, I know it's a lot of discussion and I do apologise, there's a lot of that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So you should probably either be able to see kind of a whole list of people who are here, which is fantastic. And let me just do that, clicking that, perfect. So now is the chance for you to ask me any questions you have regarding EPQ. So we've got about, let's call it 5 minutes more left for this. If you have any questions, you can either unmute and ask, or you can put it into the chat. Or if you think, oh my God, my brain's a bit overloaded already and I've still got 3 more lessons to go, then you can always email me the questions. I'm going to put my email address, I'm writing it right now. Email me for any questions that you have and I will get back to you on that. So I'm not going to keep you any longer if you don't need to be here, if you're happy to leave. If you have any questions, talk to me, ask now, or you can email me later on. Okay, thank you very much for those of you who are here. Apologies about that random muting. I'm not sure what button I pressed somewhere to mute myself. And hope you have a really good day. And there is a Q&A session at 1 o'clock. I will be running that with Mr. Greenhouse. So if you want to pop into that, that's a general Q&A with my head of year 12 hat on. So you can look at that as well. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. If you want to go, you can, feel free to. If you want to ask any questions, this is the time. Thanks, guys. Thank you all. So Mariana, it says, I wasn't thinking about this, but I really want to do it now. You don't send an email, just when you fill in your enrolment form in August, just add EPQ to that. EPQ is in every single option block. So do your subjects first, and wherever the option block turns up, or spare option block that you have, because we have 4, but you only do 3 A levels, I would then just say put it straight onto that. You don't have to worry about anything else. Do you have a question for me, Salman? If not, feel free to leave, or you can unmute yourself and talk to me, or you can just put it into the chat, no problem. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Not for EPQ. It doesn't, Salman. You've got 4 options. If you're talking about today, join the lessons that you had initially chosen for your subjects. But all of the lessons are being recorded. So as we said in our assembly this morning, all the lessons are being recorded. So you should be able to just watch them back over. They're also going to be on the website by, I think by tomorrow afternoon, they'll all be put onto the website. So you can watch every single lesson if you really want to.
Oh yeah, okay. I forgot which block I put EPQ into, and then I saw that it's in pretty much every block. And then
It is.
I did I know I did financial studies and history as well, but that's in block B and C.
Yeah.
So I knew that, but the business and EPQ is in either A or D. So
yeah, if you do EPQ now, then you can do option block D for business.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And when does option B start?
In B. About 5. I've got it at 10, so in about 5-10 minutes.
Okay. And you know if the camera icon doesn't appear, then what do I do?
It should appear, and then you just join. As soon as it appears, you can join
Because originally, I was going to join business, but the camera the icon wasn't up, and then I joined here because you were on.
Oh, okay. It might have been they might have been a bit late then. I can
Yeah.
see it. The camera icon's on now, so it might be that they were just a bit late. So yeah, join them in the option D block.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Have a good one.